We're up to our entire interview with Leonid and friends, Leonid and his son, Roman, who's their manager, on Rock History Book. In this clip, you're going to hear about Chicago's reactions to Leonid and friends doing all their music, the members of the band, how this all started sort of as a fluke. And when you're covering someone, you learn a lot about them. How Leonid really learned a lot about Peter Cetera and Terry Kath and the other members of the band. We talk about really popular songs from Chicago, but a few obscure ones that they may be covering in the future that need more shine. That and a lot more on Rock History Book. Leonid and Friends is a Russia band formed in 2014 by Leonid Vorobyov, specializing in remarkable faithful covers of Chicago music, and they've now gone on to the Carpenters and Wind and Fire. The group has garnered a substantial international following through the YouTube performances, comprising of musicians from Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus. Leonid and Friends meticulously recreate Chicago's complex arrangements and their vibrant sound. Their viral videos led to successful tours across the United States, where they really have captivated audiences with their precision and passion. The band's impressive musicianship and deep appreciation for classic rock has earned them acclaim and devoted global fan base. You're the band manager, right, Roman?
Yes, I'm the manager, and I'm also the son of Leonid.
What's the next steps? Where are you guys going after this? You going home, or?
This is Leonid here. Our second home now is Florida. That's where we are basically based between the tours with Leonid. And then the rest of the guys are kind of spread around, some in Russia, some in Los Angeles, so all over the place.
I'm telling you what everyone has told you so far, which is everyone stops in their tracks and they go, that's it. It doesn't get better than this. That's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool stuff. I'm a big fan of theirs.
How does it work legally with you guys to be able to play Chicago music? Because obviously there's not a problem.
We're not the first ones and not the last ones to play covers or tribute to other bands. The thing is, as long as you pay the royalties on any music that you sell, right? Let's say
we buy licenses.
Yeah, we buy licenses for every CD that we sell, every song that we put out on iTunes or whatever, Google Music. So we buy the license and then we sell, and then the venues obviously have their own system when we play live shows, how they split part of the profit as part of the royalties. So they have a program for that.
What about YouTube?
So YouTube and Facebook, they have finally worked out a system with the big music rights owners like the Universal Music, Sony Music, etc., BMG. Where if you have a channel and you want to run it, that's fine. They automatically split any ad profits between your channel and the right owners. Yeah. So usually there is no problem. As long as you're not trying to do something out of the ordinary.
Tell me how this all, was it a birthday thing? How did this all start?
It started on my 60th birthday. I was jogging in the park and recalling, that was a retirement age in Russia back then. Now it's 65, but back then it was 60. And I recalling people who usually saying, oh, when I retire, I will only gardening for maybe fishing or some hobbies. But music is a main passion of my life, and I didn't want to change anything. But I decided I thought it would be good if I celebrated in special way. And I remember the song that I sang when I was young. That was a brand new love affair from Chicago 8. But the band I played back then, we had no trumpet, no trombone, only saxophone, and that was not good. But now, when I'm 60, I have a lot of good friends, musicians, very highly skilled professional musicians. And I called them, and I knew they wouldn't refuse me a favor because I helped them many times before as a friend, for free in the studio for their projects. And everyone said, oh, it's okay. And we got together in the studio, and I transcribed everything. and I sent them the scores, and we rehearsed a little bit, and then we filmed the simple studio video as we playing and singing. And when I put it on YouTube, I honestly, I thought the American audience, uh, American audience, highly spoiled with good music, demanding, highly demanding, and I was sure that American audience will be some sort of scorn us. Oh, these Russians, who do they think they are? But I was ready for that because that was just a gift for my birthday, maybe for my fellows in Siberia when I grew up, and it was unexpectedly, suddenly, a lot of good comments, waves of good comments. And someone told me, Leonid, maybe one more. And we recorded Make Me Smile. That was the second song. And a couple of weeks later, it was already on Chicago's official website. And it was.
What has been Chicago's reaction? I mean, when's the first time you heard? I mean, outside of that being on their site, have you spoke to them personally?
We had a chance to meet, first of all, Danny Serafin, then Robert Lamb, and then кто был третий?
I mean, we met Jimmy Pankov, we met
Yes.
Lee Loughnane. We met them actually a year ago at a little thing on Capital Fourth event. Actually, we were there. So yeah, we had a chance to meet all of them. But the first ones were Robert Lamb and Danny Serafin, who actually came to see us in 2019 when we first arrived to America.
Yeah.
And both were really just admiring what Leonid has done, paying tribute to their music, and totally, giving him the kudos for that. And it was just wow. It was a dream come true.
Yes, that's right.
What do you think it is about Chicago music? What was it for you? What caught you?
Despite the Iron Curtain, I grew up in Siberia, behind the Iron Curtain. Chicago, the band, was very extremely popular among Russian musicians, and many Russian bands in '70s had tried to get the set of Chicago: three horn section, rhythm section, and vocal harmony. It was they tried to duplicate, and there was a rumor. And the rumor was Jimmy Pankow has had Russian roots, ex-Russian, because of surname Pankow.
Well, I thought it might be because Jimmy's I used to have girlfriends in the 70s, right? They'd always go right to Jimmy because he had the beard and he looked like that. He looked like the best looking guy in the universe. I thought maybe that's why you thought he was Russian. He was damn good looking.
Yeah, could be that, right? But it was a strong influence.
Yes.
Back in the day. But also it's interesting. I mean, if you look back into how Leonid started in music, I mean, it was not easy to get that kind of music in USSR.
There were no instruments like electric guitar on drum set or keyboards in stores, and only in official places. And you couldn't go to the store and buy records. No vinyl, no. You had to make a huge effort to get it. Effort.
How did your parents react to you? Were they musical?
No, my parents.
It was actually a struggle because they thought that's just a doomed kind of a profession to go after.
Yes.
Better be off as an engineer or something.
Yes.
And
I studied in a polytechnical university to be an engineer, but I went there just because there was a set of music instruments. But senior grades didn't let us play a lot. Maybe 15 minutes 2 times a week. And it was devastating for me. Сказать, я бросил. And I quit the Polytechnic University, and I entered to the Institute of Culture, and I'm educated as a choir conductor. I'm a choir conductor.
Before that first video, were you thinking of retiring?
There were two main passions in my life. One of them was music, and another one was driving a car. And now I'm playing music and driving a car across the USA, back and forth. This is my retirement.
You know, Leonid worked basically for, like, just before Leonid and Friends project started, he has worked for over 20 years in a studio.
Yes.
And, you know, in his
Is
younger
it-
days, he actually played in the band. And they, you know, he has these stories how they used to pick up on the Voice of America
Yeah.
by the border of Russia on the eastern side, listen to the tracks, listen to the new songs, transcribe them, and play them the next day or the next week.
Yes,
And
yes.
that's what you had to do. I mean, you had to have tremendous passion for music to be able to get that. And he made his own electric guitar and all that.
Yes.
But for the last 20 years, he worked in a studio, and so he also got really, you know, incredibly skilled in mastering music,
Recording, mixing, mastering every studio activity.
right?
More than 25 years. And I didn't touch my bass for 25 years. I thought the game is over.
And then, you know, out of the blue, this thing that nobody had any sort of expectation of, because I mean, look at this. You play tribute to a band that was big back in the 70s. Okay. You're also doing it in Russia, you know, where that's not the biggest you know, market for it. Okay. You're doing it with Russian singers who probably have some accent, you know, who's going to listen to them? And then
You're 60.
and you're 60 when you go on doing it. Like, who
You
needs you
started at 60.
right? So there's many sort of rules that were broken, but here we are, and it just looks like it meant to be that way. I don't know. And social media is such a miracle as well, because
Yeah.
it allows now to bridge those two parts of the world. You know, he was growing up behind the Iron Curtain. The our American friends always thought, oh, these, you know, Russians, they are, you know, they're scary and the, you know, enemies. And we had our, you know, Leonid had his own propaganda, and here we are building a bridge with music as a universal language. How
Yeah.
cool is that? Just above all of that, you know, we see kind of like so many parts to it that we now feel it's our duty to keep going as long as we can, to show that there's so much in common we have as people, you know, regardless of the politics and all the you know, the craziness that's going on out there. You know,
That's right.
we can still find something together as people in music, and also just give a new sense of purpose to people who are now 60 plus and go, okay, what do I do now? So
Yes.
Leonid has inspired a lot of people to pick up back on their instruments.
And you've also brought Chicago, Earth, Wind, and Fire, different band. You've all, like the Carpenters, that's done really well. You've brought that, as you said, music from way back in the 70s to a whole new generation. That's the other thing.
Yeah, it's
People who otherwise might not have heard it.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of bringing it back to life now with just, yeah, a lot of people find out that music. A lot of our fans actually, they heard some of the music we play, but they didn't hear the other bands. They go, wow, this is a revelation. And they bring their kids and grandkids, and it's a very cool thing. And we're blessed with just a great growing community within Leonid and Friends. If you had a chance to look us up on Facebook, we have specifically a fans dedicated group page, which is now almost 50,000 people who get to interact and share and travel with us and
Yes.
meet each other. We, you know, people meeting each other and becoming friends, and
Yes,
all
that's it.
kinds of just cool things out of it, because we're sort of showing them we're on a mission. We're on a mission to bring this music back to life.
I've heard announcers come on, and I've been told it's Leonid. And then I've heard announcers saying Leonid, but it's
Leonid, yes.
Leonid, right?
Leonid,
Leonid is
Leonid.
Leonid.
Russian
Well,
pronunciation.
if you'd be totally like phonetically correct, which is not easy, right? We're but
Leo. Leo.
Leonid is the original way you say it, Leonid.
So
But
you're in
it's okay
Florida.
if you say Leonid too. That's not a problem. Like me, I'm Roman, but in Russia, I am Roman. So, it's okay. It's okay. It works.
The version of, is it Senya?
Xenia.
This woman is incredibly talented.
Yeah.
And there's actually not many of our fans know, some of them who've been with us, they know that Leonid had a whole other project with Xenia before Leonid and Friends.
Yes.
And Xenia actually sings in Chinese.
Oh, she knows
And
a few languages, right?
That's right. She speaks few languages. One of her languages is Chinese. She learned Chinese culture and Chinese language, and she had a whole project and like part of her career in China. And they actually traveled with Leonid and played shows and did a whole thing where for a lot of fans there. Yep. And it just turned out that after that, Leonid started this new thing, which was just sort of a surprise to everybody. And Leonid was recording the song.
Wishing You Were Here.
You know the track "Wishing You Were Here" by Chicago.
We had no Beach Boys, but I need a good high voices.
And he invited Xenia to come in and sing that one of the parts in the harmonies. And she was a perfect fit. And the next song they did, brought her in again as, back vocalist and this and that. And she just became a natural, integral part of this. And something Chicago didn't have.
Oh, they didn't have that.
No, they didn't have that. Yes. So it's a cool thing. And Xenia is a star in her own rights, of course. And somehow we're all together, just an incredible combination of talent, just phenomenal.
Your drummer.
Yeah, Igor is a beast. And the one thing about Igor is he is just supremely disciplined drummer with incredible amount of hundreds of thousands of hours of practice and drumming under his belt. He's just Mr. Discipline, and he keeps it exactly as it should be, because it takes a lot of that discipline skill to play it exactly as Danny played, or Earth, Wind and Fire played, or Tower Power played, etc. And he's able to do that, and Igor is definitely a beast.
New directions that the band will be taking.
Новые какие-то направления у нас планируются?
I don't think so about new ways, but there's so many great songs to play, and we have a lot of songs, good songs in our plan. And now I'm transcribing the next songs, and wow.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of just golden treasure left back there in 60s and 70s.
Yes.
That I think the time went by too fast, that people didn't appreciate it enough. That we should definitely pay tribute.
Что тогда не было такого диктата продюсеров, и поэтому были уникальны.
Back in the day, you didn't have the industry wasn't ran so much by producers and by the commercial labels and so forth. So artists actually had a freedom to create whatever they wanted, and that's what went out. Nowadays, the industry dictates more of a pattern to the artists for commercial reasons, and it's it's show business and so forth. So it's you don't get as much creativity from each individual artist wherever they in whatever direction they want. So we want to definitely pay more tribute to that, whilst Leonid is preparing a few original tracks. Like, you maybe had a chance to see our original song "Speck of Dust," right? So that's one, and then there's a next one coming in production as well.
Secret.
It's secret, top secret. But hey, it's we hope to have it ready soon.
You said something a while ago about maybe songs that didn't get their rightful listen back in the day. Mississippi Delta Blues. When you guys did that, I'm getting goosebumps talking about this because I was a huge Chicago fan. I'm an insane Chicago fan, and I know that didn't do as well as the other ones because it's not as well known. But you guys kicked it out of the park. Tell me about why you picked that song.
Maybe a couple of years, one of our fan gave me the record from the Chicago, was not Chicago yet, but a big thing.
Yes.
They were called Big Thing.
Yes. And there was a record from some club, and they played Mississippi Delta City Blues. And they played and that was wow. And that was in, I don't remember, there was a second version, and the third version is a Chicago 11.
Yes, it is.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah, Chicago 5, the Big Thing, Chicago 5, and Chicago 11
version, and then Chicago 11.
So it's always been on Leonid's top favorites, and it's one of those hidden deep tracks by Terry Kath. And
we are on the same page.
we both, Leonid and I, think that Terry Kath is extremely underrated, under-recognized guitar player, vocalist, and just all in all artist, musician. The amount of creativity and rock he brought to Chicago is just unbelievable. And so we definitely want to, bring his legacy to view as well.
What do you think of Peter Cetera now? You're playing his part.
He is also underrated bass player because he was so creative.
Very creative.
And to play, sometimes it looks like the difficulty. It's hard to запомнить.
It's hard to even remember it.
Yes, because every bar,
memorize
a little
it.
bit different. Every bar, a little bit different.
Really?
Little bit different. A lot of improvisation and a lot of creativity. And when you start to transcribe, it looks like not so difficult to play, but it's difficult to combine and to
memorize it.
Memorize.
There was always that story that Peter had broken his jaw after a fight, and his jaw was, and then then he started singing like that permanently. I don't think that's an urban legend. I think that really happened. What's been the feedback from the singers in the band, either Terry or Robert? I mean, they all sang, but mostly, and Peter are the main guys. Any feedback about replicating their voices?
Well, Peter Cetera is definitely probably the toughest vocal to replicate and to pull off, because he had
unique voice.
He was just unbelievable range, and at the same time kind of light and no effort in putting it out there. And it's quite a task. And we had only two people who were able to do that. We had Serge with us for a few years, who is now in Ukraine, and he has to be there. And unfortunately, he left the band. But we gave him all the support we could. And then we have Michael now, and it took Michael also a lot of work to be able to come to that and delivery. And but he's doing a fantastic job as well, because you got to have a lot of power while keeping it like just light and perfect pitched, but with a lot of power as well. So it's quite a trick. So Peter is probably the toughest one. And for Terry, we've got Vasily, who's got just a nice deep, timbre and character of voice. So he's a perfect fit as well.
What was your biggest impression of America when you first got to America?
Many things surprised us, because there was our first show in a close to Broadway in New York City. And there was a whole full room, and
packed out.
Packed out.
Well, just before that, there was a huge line around the block lining up for our very first show when we arrived to New York.
We were so nervous.
Oh yeah, it was quite an excitement. You know, you come first time in America and first show in right by the Times Square at the Sony Hall, and you see this just a humongous line of people lining up, and you're like, they're probably going to a Broadway show next door, and turns out they came to see our show. You know, it's just, I don't know. It's
Actually, the many Russian musicians have a dream to play for the American audience, but we did it true. We did our dream came true, and that was so. It's I can. It was not unforgettable.
Yeah. At what point did you start doing Earth, Wind, and Fire? Because those videos have done incredibly well, I can see.
Mhm.
Я даже не помню, с какого момента. I don't remember exactly, but Chicago and Earth, Wind and Fire was bands extremely popular in between Russian musicians.
Among Russian musicians, yeah.
Yes,
So you know, it just naturally, you know, I think it started with September, right? September was the first song,
maybe
was the
that.
first track.
11
September.
I think,
million. I just wrote it down there. It's at 11 million September.
I think if I recall it correctly, and Leonid can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it started with they needed when they started to put a set list together for live performance, they needed a fun encore song.
Yeah, that's right.
They needed a fun and just like a party song. And you know, you can't go wrong with September. You can never go wrong. And so that's how it started. They made it, they recorded a video as well, and boom, that just went like through, you know, like a rocket. And so then it's like, okay, what else is there?
Yeah. Well, with Roman, when I see you on, it's so cool when I see you on there and you say, "Hey, we're here." It's kind of like I'm looking at a friend, and someone else had told me that too. When you're looking around and the band's behind you, and you just feel like you're a fly on the wall, which is for you guys, I think works incredibly well. I wish bands would do that more often. Let us in. Let us be around you, hang out. Did you come up with that idea?
Yeah, that also was something I sort of found out that our fans really want to see a little bit here and there between our shows or in the middle of our shows or backstage, something they don't see often. And for those who also don't have a chance to see a live show or travel with us, okay, I can sneak peek and show them while using the opportunity maybe to tell them the what's coming up and where we're traveling next and so forth. So I naturally grew into being an MC for the band as well. You know, I have fun doing it, so I definitely don't have a problem.
Well, you're such a
Um,
part of it too. You've become,
yeah.
because when I think of I I don't know, I think of you as being a part of the whole thing. So
Oh yeah. It's sort of you know, and I always wanted to help Leonid to make his dream come true. And when I saw Leonid and Friends thing just blowing up, I was like, this is it, because I was a big fan of Chicago, growing up on Leonid's CDs and records of all of that. You know, Beatles, Queen, you know, Deep Purple, Chicago, etc. So I was like, that's it. You know, how can I help? And then I joined in as the manager on our very first tour. We had a little show in Chicago where we decided we're going to do a little Q&A session with the audience and let them ask things they want to find out and tell them a couple of stories. And so of course I had to come up on the stage and translate because these guys, you know, just didn't were not quite up to it yet. And so I became the spokesman. And I remember I was like, knees shaking, and I was like sweating and so forth. But people loved it. And somebody said, hey, do a little bit of that during every show. People would love to, you know, connect with you guys rather than you just step on the stage, play the show, and leave. Like, do a little bit of that communication as well, and just it brings a stronger connection. And so I started to do those little elements of the show and telling stories and you know, doing little segments and introduction of the band. So it kind of grew naturally. And then on Facebook and YouTube, hey, as a manager, I have a task to promote and do everything I need to. So these guys have packed out houses wherever they go. So I do my part as entertaining as I can, also by letting people in, like you said. I think it's cool. And the next thing we're actually gonna release is a little a backstage on the road documentary series. It's gonna be like 2-3 episodes. It's gonna be really fun. We just shot it during these last 2 tours.
Do you have three top Chicago songs that are your favorites?
I cannot say I have three. I have more, but I have my favorite CD album, Chicago 7, because the first part is instrumental and jazzy and very, very, very good. And the second part is songs, singing when Terry Kath on his top and Peter Cetera on his top and Robert Lamb on his top and Leonid also with his song Call on Me. And oh my gosh, Chicago 7 is my favorite.
If you could say something to Terry Kath, if he was still with us and you met him, what would you tell him?
Oh my gosh, don't do it. Don't do it, please. Terry Kath.
But
Don't do it.
what about his music though? What about what has he shown you? What has he taught you? What would you tell him man to man?
He is the only one, как сказать, был он самоучкой.
He learned himself. He was
Yes.
told, learn it all himself.
But he had so big soul and he had so huge talent that he start to sing. It's I have a goosebumps. He's played on guitar. He's playing guitar. It was so passionate, so good, so unique. He had unique technique. He had unique, как сказать, не похожий.
Just totally original.
Yes, totally original.
Yeah. So what would you tell him? Что бы ты ему сказал как музыканту?
Я бы сказал, я мечтаю быть рядом с тобой.
He would say, I dream to just play next to you.
You know, the Chicago had was a band with a, как сказать, balance, ideal.
Just ideal balance.
Ideal balance between jazzy horns and rock rhythm section and vocal harmonies. 3 different voices, and everyone is so individuality.
Yeah.
Individual, and combine it together. It's so great. It's not compared to anything else.
That's you wouldn't find that too often, that kind of a combo with so many different vocals and ranges and the harmonies and so many different elements to it. It's just a big book of fairy tales that you just like go through, and each song is just so much creativity and so much going on. And that's part of how Leonid chooses the next song to record. He wants something that gives him challenge, a musical challenge to reproduce.
Leonid, I want to know what you think of this song. Oh, a hit for Veris. I don't know how to say that. Do you know that one?
Oh my God.
That song is one of my favorite Chicago songs.
Oh, I remember this song. It's one of my favorites.
The way he sings that, though, the way Robert sings that, you go, he's like throws little things in, and I'm going, that's such a brilliant song.
Yes. I thought it hit by Varese, but Varis.
Varis. That song needs attention. That song, I'm surprised on how many Chicago fans don't know it. What was the hardest song to put down, whether it was the video or putting it together as a band? There must have been a song that stood out as maybe the hardest one.
The song, like a few songs, like had 2 parts. Yeah. For example, Brand New Love Affair started as a ballad, and then tang 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 tang, and for example, Hanky Panky, and then Lifesaver. Wow.
Но самое тяжелое для тебя для записи, он спрашивает.
Вот эти, которые двойные.
The ones that have 2 parts in it that were the toughest to record and reproduce. So that were like part 1, part 2 type of things.
When are you guys going back out?
Mid-September, we start around Chicago and Milwaukee, and we do all of the Midwest, and then we go all the way down to Texas, and then going over to West Coast. So all of these states gonna be pretty much covered, 40 plus shows, and finishing up in Vegas before Thanksgiving, and then flying over to Hawaii for the last show in the day after Thanksgiving. So it's going to be a fun ride for sure.
That's a good life, man. That is a good life.
It is, right? Especially when you're almost 70. So, and Leonid drives also the leading car. You know, we have like 4 vehicles. We drive as a little caravan, and the front vehicle is the truck, and that carries the luggage and so forth. So Leonid drives that. He's the leading driver.